guys. How's it going today?
What's up, Cody?
Good. Can you tell me your first and last names and where you guys are, the name of the place, and just talk about the academy there?
My name is Annie Collantes.
Rolo, Collantes.
Nice to meet you
And
guys.
yeah, you too. Our gym name is Fortyone Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, over in Camden, South Carolina.
Why is it called 41?
And so this is a cool story. So, my husband and I are Christians. And so for us, it's a way to kind of spread the gospel as well as doing what we love. So the name 41 is a biblical meaning to us. So in the Bible, it talks about the number 40 a lot. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. When Jesus was out in the wilderness, he wandered, or when Jesus walked out in the desert for 40 days. And then like the Israelites were out in the desert for 40 years. And when David and Goliath, for 40 days, he, tormented them. The whole point being is that 40 days, there's always struggles. Everybody struggles through life with different things. But like hold out because that 41st day is coming. On that 41st day, the rain stopped. Jesus started his ministry. David slew Goliath. Like all these things happened on the 41st day. So for us, it's a place, where people can come when they're dealing with all these stressors and struggles in life, and, a place where they can meet other people, all different walks of life. And it's a way for us to spread the gospel when people ask us, what does the name mean? And we can share that with them as well. It's important to us as a family. And I think our gym is very family oriented. And so I think that was a big appeal to us. So, yeah.
You just spread it just now. Yeah, I asked you. I didn't plan on asking that. I just naturally. But I think the name, most people are going to ask what it means. Yeah.
It happens to us at tournaments, all kinds of places that we go. People are like, oh, what does the 41 mean? And then that's like our, the door opens up and it allows us to, talk to people. So
what's kind of cool is I would shout her name out. I don't know who she is, but she came up to us at a tournament one time. She was like, what does that mean? She asked what it was. And then she brought her hand up and it was a 41 tattoo because of her, of her belief and her struggles in life as well. I didn't even know it was something that people used. I didn't know that it was a thing.
Yeah.
But when we were
I didn't
talking
know
about
either until now. Yeah.
yeah, we were looking to see what kind of gym name we would put out there, and there was like nothing really that stood out to us. And then I think just like one night we were talking about it, and we're like, "Hey, what do you think about this, that, the other? About 41?" And it just like that just hit us. Like, there's so many people that come into our gym, either they're overweight, they're out of shape, they were bullied, or they were whatever, and they're trying to find that 41st day. Right? They're trying to get out there to that 41st. And it just made sense to us,
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of almost making me think like, aren't we all? We're
Yeah.
all like pushing
Yeah.
towards something. Yeah, trying to get
Yeah.
there, that 41st day. Did it take a long time for you to think of that, or?
N
Not
no,
really.
I think we brainstormed for a little bit, and then I think like
I went to a
one
Bible study. I
yeah,
came home one night
we
from
were
a Bible
talking
study
about it.
and I was talking about it with Rolo. And then the next morning I woke up and he was like, look at this thing. And he had literally sketched out.
I wish we had it.
I'll show you my back. Can you see it?
Yeah,
No.
I saw it. I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He literally had this sketched out on a notepad. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And he said, I think this should be our name. And I was like, I love that. And so, yeah, that's just kind of where it developed from there.
I have
Cool.
terrible insomnia, so I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll just do random things. I think I'm more productive at 2 in the morning than I am in 2 in the afternoon.
Okay. Oh, that's kind of cool in a way. I mean, you have like the quiet time,
Yeah, for sure.
you have like, yeah, a lot of people, I mean, I wish I had that, but, I know it stinks because of the sleep issue, but, tell me what you guys offer there at the academy. You got jujitsu. Do you have judo or any striking or anything like that, or just jujitsu? And
Yeah. So we just started our Muay Thai program, and we also have a judo program.
Mhm.
Um, this area where we're at, there's anywhere between in Camden is about 9,000 to 11,000 people. So that's very small compared to, you know, places like New York, even Charlotte, or even Columbia, South Carolina. Columbia has over 100,000 people within Richland County. Camden City it's just a very small town. So for us to introduce it into this town and try to make it flourish is really difficult because it's a very unknown territory. Um, so
Talking about
adding,
jujitsu
talking about jiu-jitsu, yeah,
and
but
Muay
adding,
Thai, or like it started out that way with jujitsu.
I'm sorry.
So
Oh,
are you
yes.
talking
Yeah.
about specifically Muay Thai and judo, or are you talking about jujitsu when you're talking about trying to introduce it?
So just jujitsu is like
Yeah.
very foreign, right? So adding our Muay Thai program has kind of like it can help help bring people in because that's more common to them. That's more something that they kind of know. And then so we introduce jiu-jitsu along with judo as well. We have awesome coaches that do Muay Thai. We have Joe Meisner who does he does the Muay Thai and he's fought professionally a handful of times. And we also have Charles. Oh, he's going to be mad. I forgot his last name. I always mess it up, but Charles Nostrent. Um, we call him Sensei Charles because he's a black belt in judo and a brown belt in jujitsu. But yeah, awesome instructors. And we're thankful to have them for sure. We also
Yeah.
offer kids program, and Annie, she's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and she's the head of our kids program. And then we have a handful of helpers, assistant coaches that we're thankful that they volunteer to do it, for sure.
Mm. And are the kids? Do you have like a kids judo and Muay Thai, or it's only adults right now?
So jiu-jitsu starts out at 8 years old. Um, and then our Muay Thai starts at 10. There's not a
Okay.
judo kids program at this time because our judo instructor also has a full-time job and he just doesn't have the time frame to be able to to host a kids program. Um, so maybe in time, but we just
Okay.
started. We've been open about a year and a half, but the Muay Thai and judo program just came online in the last
Couple months.
4 months or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Do you think it's
Mm.
helped, like with attendance, the addition
Uh,
of those?
Kind of slowly but surely. I mean, I think it's brought people in the door. It's brought people to call us. She always
Yeah.
has this line going, so she gets a ton of calls asking about it and everything. So our numbers, it's weird because they'll stay the same and then they'll jump and then they'll drop and then they'll stay the same and then they'll jump and then you know, but it's to be expected. We're not looking to profit significantly with this. We really just wanted a place that we can train that was a lot closer because the closest jiu-jitsu gym was like 30, 45 minutes away. And
Okay.
we didn't want to have to drive that. And, or as you talk to several people, jujitsu is one of those things where consistency really matters. And also the addiction to jujitsu ends up happening where people end up training more than just once a week. It's not a once a week type thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so driving there 30 to 45 minutes 5 times a week or four
Yeah.
times a week wasn't feasible.
You guys aren't even talking about 2 or 3 times, you're thinking, 5 times a
Uh,
week. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, just one time a day. Whereas when we were training in Arizona, I would try to get 2 times a day if I could. And my professor, Andrew Gardner, he was a like, big help for us, as far as growing our jujitsu, because when I initially started, jujitsu, it was out here in South Carolina because we were stationed here, being military. But we were stationed here, and jujitsu just was not as evolved as it was out west at the time. This was
And
in
what
2000.
around what year? Around what year was that? Just have a
2008.
review.
Yeah,
2008.
yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. That kind of lines up with, the progression of jiu-jitsu across the US. Yeah.
yeah. And
What's
it was
what's kind
more
of go ahead. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know, I was just gonna say it was more of uh the jiu-jitsu was more towards the MMA side. So I started doing MMA, and that's how I got introduced into jiu-jitsu.
Got it.
Through MMA, and then I would show up to meetings with black eyes and busted lips, and it's like, I can't I can't keep going to work like this after, I started getting in like supervisory positions within the military, and so decided not, to not go the MMA route. Plus, I wasn't very good, anyways. So, and then decided to do the jujitsu route. So I stuck with that and started doing full time jiu-jitsu around 2011, 2012.
Mm. What's your kind of overall philosophy with teaching jujitsu? Do you have kind of like anything to say about that? Kind of just to sum it up.
Yeah. Well, so I think we have kind of similar styles, but also different ways. What's your thoughts?
I mean, obviously, because I teach kids, right?
Yeah.
It's very different than teaching adults. I'm almost like if I ever have to teach an adult class, I'm way more nervous. I feel like the kids are just so much
Mm.
more like I don't know, they're just having fun, you know? I think the kids, we keep it light, keep it
Yeah.
light. We don't have to be so in the details. We call Rolo in the details because man, he is super detailed with his jujitsu. With
Okay.
which the kids, a lot of times we need to just see where their bodies naturally take them, man. Kids' bodies just do things that you're like, I don't even know how you're doing that right now. Like they bend and they stretch and they just do weird things. And so I think for me teaching the kids class, we just come up with a program. We try to run it about every 6 months is when we look at like our big promotions. And so we try to run it at about 6 months. We have like a fundamental kids class. Everybody starts in that class. There are certain things that we expect them to have before they move up to the next kids class, which is more, I wouldn't say advanced, but it is more in the details. It's a little faster pace. Whereas that fundamentals, it definitely, we just, for the kids, we keep it light. We keep it really light. We try to have fun with it, teaching them good self-defense, building that confidence up within themselves. I think that's what's really important.
And
And Rolo, what about you, man?
yeah, as far as the kids, as far as that kids program goes, it's awesome because as soon as they have that fundamental base, then once they get into the actual class, then there's you don't have to slow down because most times when people start jujitsu, adults as well, they forget that they even have feet. Like they're just kind of using their upper body when they're trying to push someone off, and then their legs are just dead on
Okay,
the ground,
that makes
right?
sense. Yeah.
Trying to get the mind to connect with all parts of the body is probably the hardest part. What does that say? Oh, um there was a telling me we could use gestures or something. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
uh,
fine. So
but
you're just saying like, yeah, using all parts of the body or something like that, and then it cut.
Yeah, so a lot of times people are more apt to use just the upper part of the body because that's what we're mostly used to, right? On a day-to-day basis. We pick things
Right.
up, move things like with our upper body. We push or whatever, right? So if someone's on top, like saying side control, people are just like pushing. They forget to bring their knees in to build frames. They forget to use their the rest of the parts of the body that we can use even when we're trying to escape bad positions, um so I think the hard part is trying to get the mind to connect all that together. But as soon as you get that,
Yeah.
then now they have a large, there's so much more that they can do, so much more that they have an understanding of their body and the capabilities. As far as like the new ways of teaching, I know you probably had people talk about like ecological jiu-jitsu and then
No,
traditional. Okay.
go ahead.
Well, so,
What the world is
uh,
that?
so we teach kind of in combination of both traditional jiu-jitsu instruction as well as ecological jiu-jitsu. So the traditional jiu-jitsu is more of like step by step. We'll show you this particular move, and it's like step by step by step, right? And then ecological jiu-jitsu is more of we're gonna put parameters within a position, and then you kind of you get them to start there, and both parties kind of work actively in that position. So then you kind of just organically learn jujitsu through mistakes, through movement, through successes of the train within that training session. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I've had someone talk about that, but I don't think they named it ecological. Yeah, jujitsu.
Oh,
But yeah, okay, yeah.
yeah.
I just yeah, like putting the parameters, and then they're them figuring it out. So you guys kind of
Yeah.
combine both.
Yeah, because I think there's several different learners, right?
Yeah,
But there are people who learn, within the ecological way a lot quicker. And then there are
that's right.
individuals who require the step by step instruction, maybe before they get to the capabilities of learning through ecological.
Hmm.
So just kind of combining both allows the person to absorb the step by step stuff to give them that understanding of why you're doing that step, what it's for, why is it effective, or what you're doing isn't effective because you're missing this particular part of this position. And then there's individuals who are more free thinking and they could figure it out on the fly, and they learn under pressure, and I think ecological kind of gives that. But the parameters that you give within the ecological part of instruction is super important, obviously, because you're trying to bolster a particular position or a particular reaction from an individual. So you can easily mess that up as well. Through it. But
Mm-hmm.
combining both, it's been really good for us. I've felt like our our students have kind of just like catapult through certain I guess like techniques or skills that they've like developed.
Are you doing it in like trying to identify the people who learn this way or versus learn that way, and then kind of always teach them that way? Or are you combining it in the sense of, actively combining those two with everybody, with each lesson? Like, are you kind of like teaching them the move and then giving them the parameters to play with it a little bit as well? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So a lot of
Or are you
times,
like giving parameters and then also while they're doing it, if they're not succeeding, then you're kind of teaching them this is what you can do?
so most times I'll say, let's say bow and arrow, right? Um, and what I'm trying to get them to do is I'm trying to teach them the bow and arrow. So bow and arrow is a choke from the back. So say I'll start individuals on the back, and then we talk step by step what this position is, right? But then a lot of times when people are doing it in a live situation, they're like, I can never finish the bow and arrow or whatever because I can't get this grip or I can't get that. Right. So instead
Yeah.
I may start the individual on their back, and then now like the person who's defending can only use this hand versus that hand, or they can't shrimp in this way. And now the goal for the person trying to get the bow and arrow is now your only goal is to grab the collar. Is to like put your hand in the collar and then grab the pant leg. That's your only goal. Like leave them with one thing so that they're more focused on that and they're not focused on, oh, the guy's going to escape. Oh, the guy's going to end up passing my guard. Oh, the guy's going to end up choking me. And like, it's like a game almost with particular goals, and it's less stress on the person. So they will
Yeah.
one if we do both in one setting, in one class setting, then you'll capture the people who learn based off step by step, and then we'll also capture the people who learn on ecological because we'll do the drills like that, like game drills, and then we'll do it also step by step. As far as like, do we pull out who learns more ecological versus step by step? I think sometimes what I've noticed is sometimes the people who learn step by step will become better ecological learners once they realize,
Yeah.
once they figure out jujitsu, you know,
Yeah. Okay.
but it depends. They can kind of turn or morph, after a while.
Yeah. Did y'all just start implementing that, or has it always been that way?
No, my old professor, from Deboa was the gym that we came from in Arizona.
Okay.
And my old professor he came here whenever we opened up our gym. So he came and flew out here, and he discussed ecological jiu-jitsu. And this was like a year or so ago, but ecological jiu-jitsu has been out for a long time. It just hadn't hit the mainstream. Um, it just,
Fine.
it took a handful of years before it hit the mainstream. Because obviously people were very much on, regular traditional teaching of jiu-jitsu. I'm going to show you this move. I'll show you that move and this step by step. Um, but I think it took a while to build people up ecologically and then be able to say, yes, this works, you know?
Mm. Right. 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 That's understandable. Yeah. Would you guys go back as far back as you want and tell us why you got into jujitsu? You know, why you love it, and kind of tell me the story of how you got into it, and then kind of lead up to owning the academy.
Yeah. Um,
Your story started first, so you go ahead.
okay. Okay. Well, so I was,
I
well,
was 2 years old.
I wish we always talk about that. Like, oh man, I wish we started earlier. So I was like
Okay.
28. I was about 28 years old. Um, we had a guy that was in Sumter. I was stationed at Sumter, South Carolina, and a Air Force base over there. And this guy opened up an MMA gym. It actually made the paper that was there. Uh, DK Derek Hennington. He was not an old. I guess he's retired now, but he was a professional MMA fighter as well, and fought for Bellator. But he was in the military with us also. So he ended up opening up an MMA gym, um, in Sumter. It made the newspaper. Me and my buddy ended up going out to this MMA thing because it was like grand opening, blah blah. And we were big, or we thought we were gym rats. Like we lifted weights and we thought that we were tough, you know.
Yeah.
So we ended up walking into this gym, and I remember there was a guy. It wasn't Derek. It was another one. It was one of his students who had been training for maybe 6 or 7 months, and he ended up, he was like 155. And at the time I was 215, 210, 215. And I remember this 155 pound guy who had been training MMA for maybe 6 to 8 months. And he was just handling me when we walked into this class. And I was like, man, I thought I was tough. I thought I was something, And
Don't we
so
all? Right. Right.
yeah, right. Like we don't know until we realize how much we don't know, right?
Mhm.
And then I ended up, signing up and training, but his gym had a very hard time taking off in that area. Just one, because it was new, that was back in 2008, and it
Mhm.
was like MMA was still fairly new, right?
Yeah.
So there was like UFC, but MMA was still fairly new, and jujitsu just by itself to extract it was fairly new as well, right? And to have a place that only taught jujitsu on the East Coast in South Carolina, it was very limited. You didn't have many places, and the places who didn't know about it, especially in this small country town of Sumter, South Carolina, there wasn't many people who trained. So his gym didn't last, but there was a gym in South Carolina, or in Columbia, that was training jiu-jitsu, and Columbia is a larger population. So they had a handful larger. When I say a handful, like there was probably, I don't know, 15 people that was that were there consistently, right? But back then, that was still a large amount of people. That was a good amount
Yeah.
that you had consistent, right? Um, Whereas now there's gyms who are hosting 20 to 40 to 50 people a day, you know,
Um,
depending on where you're at. But anyways, uh, yeah, I got tired of getting punched in the face because I would go to meetings, beat up with busted lips and black eyes, and I was like, man, I can't do this. So I started like getting into supervisory positions and had to go to production meetings and whatnot, and I couldn't keep doing that. So I decided to only do jiu-jitsu, and this was probably about 2011, 2012, I think. Um, and then just started doing jujitsu then, but it was hard to find a jujitsu gym. Um, so when we got stationed in Arizona, that was in 2015, then we found a gym over there. And Arizona, there's tons of jiu-jitsu out there. Like jiu-jitsu gyms are all over the place, and there are a lot of good jiu-jitsu gyms, and we stumbled across a gym named called Deboa Jiu-Jitsu with Andrew Gardner. He was a Jiva Santana black belt, and luckily we stumbled, and he was like 7 minutes down the road from where we lived, so I was able to train
oh
multiple
wow.
times and all the time, and
So
he
when so jujitsu was working out as far as like being an in between, like working out at the gym versus like MMA getting punched in the face all the time. It was like a more strenuous thing than the gym,
yeah,
but also you're not going in with a black eye, right? That's something for
yeah,
somebody
for
to
sure.
understand.
Instead that you're
It's a good
walking
in
in
between.
all beat up, all sore
Yeah.
from jitsu, you're working different muscles. But no, I mean, I always tell people like I'm sore all the time, but I feel better than the soreness that you get or the achiness that you get from not doing anything.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So did you ever have like I mean, did you have ongoing injuries with just training jujitsu?
Um, Not really ongoing. I've had like just
What?
consistent things, but it was injuries that I had through through the military and then maybe exacerbated through
Okay.
jiu-jitsu training, right? So
And
like neck
not so much
problems.
stuff that, like, happened in jujitsu that affected your job.
No, no, not really. I mean, aside from, sometimes knee issues, um, I was actually doing CrossFit for a little while back when it was really popular. And we had a general that certified people while we were deployed to train. And I was fortunate enough to get the certification. So I did CrossFit for a long time. Well, maybe about 4 or 5 years, and I think I busted my arm at some point. The doctor was saying that there's multiple fractures, arthritis, and bursitis in my elbow now. And like I have very limited range of motion. So I can't extend it and I can't like bend it very well either. Um, but I think that's probably the one injury that kind of stuck with me. Where in jiu-jitsu, it sucks because sometimes people will armbar me in this one, and then like this one will hurt for several weeks. You know, Uh, that's the only one that really stuck with me for sure.
So in Arizona, your jujitsu training was really taking off, right?
Yeah, yeah, we were really lucky because the jiu-jitsu there was significantly more developed than here on the East Coast. But now, like there's good jujitsu almost everywhere now. Because we
Yeah.
left here in
Of course, I'm finding
2015.
that out, yeah.
Yeah, we left in 2015. It was kind of underdeveloped. There were like little pockets of really good jujitsu on the East Coast, and now we moved back in what 22. We moved back here after we retired. We moved back in 22, and we're like, man, there's good jujitsu everywhere, up and down the East Coast. You
Uh,
know, Charlotte, Columbia, here in Camden, South Carolina. Um, even the tournament scene is not as big, but those pockets are fewer and further between. Like they're kind of everywhere now, which is good.
Mm. How about you, Annie? How'd you get into it?
So obviously he said he was training and I watched him train for years and it just wasn't my scene, you know. I'm not a fighter, right? I never was interested in that kind of stuff. And
Y'all
so I
met
just
in Arizona, is that right?
know in South Carolina.
Oh, got it.
Uh,
Sorry.
our kids were like doing karate, you know, just whatever.
Okay.
It just wasn't my thing. And so when we moved to Arizona and we checked out that school, I even then I didn't, I was like, I still, it wasn't something that interested me. But I went with him and at DeBoa Academy, Andrew, who ran the gym, his wife at the time, Leslie, she trained jujitsu and she was a little bit older than me because I was a little bit older at the time, you know. I thought I'm too old, like I was past my prime, you know. And
Okay, got
so,
it.
but she was a little bit older than me, and she was like, "Well, I train," and she was like, "Matter of fact, my mom's gonna train, and my mom's 70," and I'm like, "What?"
What?
Like, this is crazy. And so, she
What?
said, matter of fact, she said, I offer a free class on Saturdays for women. You know, you should come check it out. And I'm not kidding you. It took me one class. I showed up for one class and that was it. I was hooked, you know,
What
and I
why?
started
Why?
training.
Why?
I don't know. It was, you know, obviously I think for me, being military, right? I like that brotherhood. I like having that community for me and coming in that it was such a good community. They were just such good people, you know, not just their jujitsu was good, but just good people, you know, and they just put kind of good vibes out there in the world, right? Um,
Do y'all have
and
a
you know, we
theory of why there's like it seems like there's so many just good people in jujitsu. Do you have a theory on that?
I don't know why it is honestly because we've come across some people that weren't so nice, you know.
Yeah, for
We've
sure,
kind of
for
seen
sure. I
both
mean, I'm
sides of it or
interviewing people
whatever,
all
but
up and down. I mean, but it's the same thing all the
But I
time.
think if you're not, I just don't think your gym sticks. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, okay.
I think people weed themselves out and your gym does is not successful. I think it takes that kind of community and that family
Okay.
environment and that kind of energy. And you got to have big energy to run a gym, you know, especially a kids program I feel like and you know, there was something about Andrew and Leslie and just as people, just they were just good human beings. You know what I mean? And so yeah, it just drew me in and um, I don't know. I love just the family environment of it all. And man, we just started training and then that was it. I just, you know, and it can become addictive like quick. You know, I thought I was older, but I was like, man, I really like this. And you start training and man, at first you're getting beat up like crazy, you know, but it's like you just want that next level, like you want to get to where they're at kind of thing. And so man, you just stay with it. And I don't know. I was doing just the ladies class, obviously, then we started doing I started doing the regular classes with other people or whatever, and we watched their gym just grow. Like it's kind of crazy. I mean, they started in their garage and then this was their first place that they had actually opened like a stall. We watched them go to 2 stalls and then we watched them close down and move to an in lot that was even bigger. I mean, and their gym is just it's hugely successful and I think it all comes back to they're just good human beings, you know, and they teach solid jujitsu. And so when we talked about opening up a gym over here, they were the first ones we called, you know, and wanted their input and their feedback, and they've been amazing. I mean, like I said, Andrew came out here with a couple of our friends
Mhm.
from Arizona when we had our grand opening. I mean, they flew from Arizona, you know, just to come out here
Mhm.
for our grand opening, and they taught some of our classes. You know, I mean, they're just good people. It's not a competition. I think when you realize that jujitsu is not a we're not competing against the other schools. You know, we really do just want people to train jujitsu. We tell people all the time, like, come check out the gym. And if our gym doesn't work for you, that's cool. But find somewhere else. You know, maybe we're not a good fit for you. We offer a week free trial for that very reason. Maybe you're not a good fit for us. You know, if we're not vibing well
Sure,
with
sure.
you, then try another gym. Maybe, you know, maybe you'll find somebody else. But I feel like in this little area that we're in, we're really starting to get to know some of the other gyms and I think everybody kind of feels the same. We all go to each other's open mats and we try to help everybody out. Like, we're not like, you can't train at their school. No, please go train at other schools. Maybe you'll, you know, and come back to us. You know, we hope you come back to us. And if you don't, then maybe we just weren't a good fit for you. And that's okay. You know, no hard feelings, right? I mean, just train jujitsu. We just like the idea of it and defend yourself, and
Uh,
I don't
So
know.
when when you started, yeah, you feeling like you're older. Did it feel like it was like more? Did it feel when you started training like it was doable? Like it wasn't beating you up so much that you couldn't come back, or was it really beating you up so much that it was just like it was
No.
addicting for some reason?
I feel like it put me in the best shape of my life, whereas, I can go to the gym and work out. It's just different. Even now, I'm one of the oldest people in our gym. Because I'm a couple years older than Rolo or whatever, but it doesn't affect me. I can still roll with the 18-year-olds and the younger kids or whatever, and I still feel good. Because you rely on your technique kind of thing. And you go to the gym and you can work out, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and that's great. Jujitsu is just, and you're using muscles and body movements that I don't know. I just felt like it
Kinda
was
like
just
swimming,
easier on
right?
my body, huh?
It's kinda like swimming in the fact that you're using all of your muscles, your whole body.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the better your technique gets, the the what is it? The Not the easier that it gets, because it doesn't get easier, don't get me wrong, but the better your technique gets, the less strength and muscle that you're using, right? I'm not relying so heavily on my strength, when I'm rolling with people. I'm relying on my technique.
Mhm.
And so I don't
What
know. Like I said, I'm almost 50. I'll be 50 next year. I'm not afraid of my age. I'll be 50 next year, but I feel amazing. And I look at people that I retired from the military with that are my age, and they don't look good and they're not getting around very well. And I just feel like, yeah, I feel really good for my age. And I don't know. And I attribute it all to jujitsu because it's a lifestyle change too. I think
Yeah.
jujitsu is more than just a sport. It truly is like a lifestyle change, because you'll realize, when you first start, if you're doing things, kind of other activities outside of the gym, you'll realize, man, if you eat that greasy hamburger and then you come in here and try to roll 10 rounds, you're going to feel that hamburger, right? So then you realize
Sure.
that all of a sudden your diet starts changing because you want to feel better when you roll. Maybe you were a heavier drinker and you realize, man, if I drink, I'm not going to feel good that next day. I know my rounds are not going to be good. So it really has like changed our whole lifestyle because of it. We try to eat healthier. We try to just take better care of ourselves outside of the gym for our performance in the gym, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Rolo, was it, was a lot of it for you, the health aspect as well, just like it was for Annie? Sounds like a
No,
big part of it was just kinda how it changed your life, health-wise. Or
so
being more, active or whatever.
Mhm.
I think it depends on what age you start at, right? Like what part of life you're at. So at the time I was 28 years old. So, I'm full of testosterone, aggression and whatever at 28 years old, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
still trying to get after it in the gym and thinking that you're tough at that age. So at the time I was like, "Oh man, I'm getting beat up like by this little guy. I want to learn this. I want to be tough too." You know? So but as you start to train and as you get older, obviously that stuff is like gets out of your system or maybe jiu-jitsu changes you, age changes you, but jiu-jitsu also changes you, right? I think that the community that you build within the gym also, like if you have individuals in the gym who's always trying to one up each other, then you're going to breed a community of individuals who's like, I'm tough, I'm tougher, I'm this, that, the other, right? But if you have a gym that's like everyone's trying to help out, you're trying to build a community of of just people building one another, then
Yeah.
that could be more of a benefit than someone just trying to one up you all the time, you know? And so as far as like you had asked like why are jiu-jitsu people like the majority of seem like really nice, very this, that, the other. Well, I think it's the community that we're trying to breed because we're all trying to help one another. That's how you get these gyms that like they have so many people that are just like are good people because we're not all trying to compete, but we are all trying to better ourselves, right? In a
Got it.
way. Um I think when if you're too heavy reliant on competition, then a lot of times you're too worried on winning, right? And there's always in the back of your head, whether you think so or not, that, I need to beat that guy. I don't want that person to beat me for this and that.
Yeah.
But, but if you have if you have a gym, it should be, my personal opinion, it should be to where it's open, where anybody can excel at jiu-jitsu, not just the competitors, right? It should be to where there's individuals who's a 70-year-old person should be able to come to the gym and still have a pathway to find their black belt if they if they live that long, right? You
Uh-huh.
know, um, but if there's not, then why does a 70-year-old, why should that 70-year-old even walk in? But I feel like if you have that mentality, that's wrong. You may just love martial arts, or may just love the fact that like jiu-jitsu is what it is. And there should be a way that I want to learn in that too. You know, um, they should be able to walk in. It doesn't matter what age you're at. But I think people are more humble in jiu-jitsu, and kind of are more calm because we beat each other up every day in the most positive way, and
Yeah.
release
That's
any
a good
kind
way
of
to put it.
aggression, you know. Um, and once you're finished with the class, if done right, there's no more aggression there. There's no more competitiveness there. I love when people hang out after jujitsu, after class, and they're talking like, "Oh man, you almost had me with that. Oh, what was that thing that you just did? Like, show me this." Like, we're trying to help one another so that there's a competitive aspect there, but it's not in a negative,
Right.
or what do you call it? It's not in a bad way.
And in jujitsu, you have to be willing to take that loss to get better. Or what are you doing? Like for us, when we started the gym, we had all brand new people. So it was Rolo, myself, and white belts, like brand new to the game kind of thing. Well, we
Mhm.
talked about like, man, is our jujitsu going to suffer from this? Because who are our training partners going to be? But then when you realize you're building your training partners, right? So the goal is that one day hopefully they do catch you in something, you know what I mean? And if you're willing to explore jujitsu, you're going to take that loss. Like you're not going to get better. If I only do the one thing in jujitsu I'm good at, my game ain't going to change. It's not going to change. It's going to stay the same. I'm going to stay stagnant, and everybody else is going to grow. So, whatever he's teaching that week, it's like, okay, I'm going to work this. At half guard's not my game, but this is what he's teaching. I'm going to play it, and I may get smashed 1,000 times that day. You know what I mean? But it gives me another tool in my toolbox. You know what I mean? That I'm going to get better at it eventually if I try it. May not be my game. My game is not the same as some, guy who walks in who's 250 pounds. I'm small. I play a small game. But that doesn't mean we can't learn the same things, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of like what we end up doing in a role may be different. But I have to be willing to accept that, right? And I think that's the big thing. And like he said, we've seen our students have these huge growths, to where before I was just, if I was able to just smash through people, now I'm like, oh, okay, I see you. I see what you're trying to do there. It's more enjoyable, right? Because you're watching these people grow. They're enjoying jujitsu. It reinvigorates that love of jujitsu in yourself to watch brand new people come in the door, and they're pumped, and they're excited about it. And I think it helps to keep you going because you see that excitement in them. If there's days that you
Yeah.
don't want to train, there's days I don't want to train. I'm tired and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to go teach today. I don't want to
Of
do
course.
it. And then it might be my best round that I've had in months.
Mhm.
Just walking in the door, I walk out and I'm like, man, that's what I needed though. I needed that. I needed to spend that time on the mats and kind of get outside my own head about it. So,
That's kind of like a little micro example of, how jujitsu relates to life right there. You're not
Yeah.
wanting to do it, and then you have the best day ever. Just like
yeah,
doing anything, you never know. Uh,
absolutely. Jiu-jitsu is so mental. It's such a mental game, way more than physical, I feel like, because it is like you have to show up. We tell people all the time, just show up. You know what I mean? On the days that you don't feel like it, those are the days you need to be there, right? Just show
mm,
up.
I,
Yeah.
I feel like we tell the students all the time, we're not trying to build we're not trying to build champions, right? we're trying to build good human beings for society through jiu-jitsu, but champions will come from that,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
If all you're looking to do is win, you're going to miss the whole journey of jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu is so vast. There's so many things to learn about jiu-jitsu, right? It's like, if you're trying to win competitions, a lot of times people will stick with the things that win the tournament, right? So
Mhm.
if you're, so that's like, I don't know. It's like people who love pizza, but they only eat the pepperoni or whatever. I don't know. I don't have a good analogy for that. Like, like
That's a
you
good
just,
one. No, that's the best one you could have thought of. That's
you
perfect.
know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing that you're gonna eat. Like, eat the whole thing. Like, study the whole holistic piece of jujitsu, right? Don't just eat a small piece of it. Oh man, if anybody else watches this, especially Andrew, he's gonna clown me forever about the whole pizza thing.
I
But
just like picture you picking up pepperoni and
yeah,
eating it.
it's like, why are you missing? You're missing out on the
Uh,
rest of the pizza, right?
yeah.
So like, even though I don't specifically play certain parts of jiu-jitsu, like, I'll teach it because someone else may grasp it. And then you'll have individuals who play spider guard, individuals who play half guard, who play lasso, who pass this way, who pass that way, versus if I'm only teaching one way, this is how I won this tournament and this is my pathway, this is it. Then you have all the people who are, double leg, who take down with double legs, and you have only people who knee cut and pass and then cutter choke. Like, you only have those specific things versus a variety of individuals within your gym. Yeah.
Right. To wrap it up, how would you like if somebody comes to you right now and is thinking about I think you've really hit on the adult part a lot as we got into your stories. But if somebody comes to you and said they want to get their kids into jujitsu, but they're not sure about it, what would you tell them about jujitsu? What can it do for their kids?
There's so many, really. I think that they want to start, if they want to start their kid in anything, well, we don't start until age 8, just because we don't have the bandwidth, and we don't have the personnel to be able to teach anyone younger. There's certain energy and certain
Yeah.
people that can teach a 4-year-old jiu-jitsu, and we don't have that
Yeah. It's
energy
definitely different
Yeah,
from like an
right
yeah.
now.
8-year-old for sure.
Yeah, right. So we start at 8, but really what it's going to build is it's going to build confidence within the person, right? It's going to build resiliency within them. And hopefully it'll build a work ethic in them. Cause uh, sometimes, uh, or at least within this generation, like, work ethic is something that is super lost. We want the easiest pathway. How can I do it the easy way? Sometimes there's not an easy way. And if there's not an easy way, then people just won't do it.
Yeah.
Um, and it also builds community, how to be amongst people, and I think we kind of lose that too with technology and everything and how kids are. We were just talking about, man, when I was younger, I remember I'd go out, I'd ride my bike, and I'd be out all day on the road. Like,
Yeah.
so nowadays kids don't build that ability to, like, the mechanics that you learn from riding a bike all day,
Yeah.
exploring the world without a map, those kind of things. Like, they are losing those developmental skills that we had when we were kids. But hopefully they're gaining different things from our experience, and sharing it through jujitsu, that they're getting it, they're getting it from there, like resiliency, like the confidence, like, how to treat people and everything like that.
So one of the most popular things that I get when I field phone calls from parents who are looking to get their kids into a program is usually this. My kid needs discipline. That's a big thing. That's always like, well, that's one of the most common things. I'm looking to get them into something because they need some discipline. And I tell them all the time, we're not here to teach discipline. However, we will teach them, that they have to listen and they have to participate and they have to be good teammates and they get humbled very quickly, and that starts to teach them kind of discipline, right?
Yeah.
They see these little kids, these kids that are smaller than them doing things that they can't do yet, and so it kind of strikes that interest in them, you know what I mean? And I think that's a big thing, but I tell them all the time, jujitsu isn't to teach you discipline, but through jujitsu you can learn discipline, but we're not that's
Yeah.
not what it's for, if that makes sense. And and like we have, I mean, I feel like our kids program has done really, really well, in the fact that we do a lot of we'll play games as a group, we'll play games, and then there's times when it comes down to it, jujitsu is an individual sport, so it really does help build that confidence within themselves for those shyer kids that in a group can get lost. But when it comes
Yeah.
to that one-on-one, that's where they find themselves. And sometimes you're like, the parents are like, I didn't even know he could do that.
Yeah.
And so it's really, I think for the kids, it just really helps to build that, I don't know, that camaraderie amongst themselves, and they feel proud of themselves. Like you can see the kids, when they get to a point where they earn a stripe and you give them that stripe, you would have think you just handed them a gold belt, they're just so happy and excited, and they see that they earn that. We talk about it all the time, belts and stripes aren't given. You don't get them just because you've done your time. You get them, because you earn them. You earn them by being a good teammate, being respectful, listening, showing up, doing all these different aspects. And so, I don't know. I don't know if
Well,
I'm
thank you
rambling here.
guys for your awesome story. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
you're talking about the bikes. Me and my son were watching Sandlot the other day, and they were
Oh.
the part where they go to the fair or whatever. He said something like, "I want to just hang out." Like, I think the whole movie. I mean, I watch it every year, like 4th of July, but I've seen it 1,000 times. But every time I watch it, I'm thinking that like how it wasn't even that free when I was little. Even though we did the kind of same stuff, going to the grocery store. I said, "Buddy, I wish you could as well." It's like, yeah, ride your bike and go anywhere and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's true, man. Like, this doing the physical stuff, everything's just so easy today. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like we have to plug in. Jiu-jitsu is really a good way to like plug in that too, because it's year round and it's indoors. You're not worried about the weather. You're not worried about the heat, that kind of thing. So, y'all, thank you so much for your cool stories. I really, really appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having
Yeah.
us.
Thanks for having us,
Yeah.
Cody.
Yeah, for sure. I'll talk to you guys later, and I hope you guys have a good day. All right.
All right.
All right,
Thank you.
man. You too.
All right.
Talk to you
All
later.
right. See you
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye bye. What's up, Austin? How's it going, man?
Hey, Cody.
You doing good today? Having a good day?
Yeah, doing good, doing good. Excited to sit down and talk with you today.
Yeah, me as well. Myself as well. I got the little fan going here. I'm feeling good. It's hot today, man. I'm in Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah,
Um, where are you at?
we're
What
in
city? What
Jonesboro,
state?
Arkansas, which is like northeast Arkansas. It
Okay.
probably is equally as hot. Maybe we have you beat on humidity, and I don't know. There are mosquitoes in Pensacola.
Are you asking me?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, they are
I'm
horrible here in
laughing.
Arkansas. Like we
It's
have like
terrible.
mosquitoes the size of crows. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I don't think they'll be as big as they are there, and it might not be as it is possible there's not as much. I mean, there's a lot though.
yeah,
But yeah, I have 2 kids, 9-year-old and 3-year-old, and they wear the mosquito patches that keeps the mosquito away on their clothes. I give them 2 each every single time we go out. Yeah. So
got to do that.
tell everybody your first and last name and the name of the place, and just tell us everything that you guys offer there.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Austin Morgan. I'm the owner at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Jonesboro. We're a Gracie University certified training center. And we offer jiu-jitsu classes for all ages. The programs that we offer are Gracie Combatives, which is our beginner self-defense co-ed program. So that's kind of like the flagship.
Mm.
We have an advanced jujitsu program that we call the Master Cycle. So after you get done with Gracie Combatives, you move on to Master Cycle, keep the learning process going. For kids, we have Gracie Bully Proof. We divide those up into like two different age groups that we call the Little Champs and Junior Grapplers, but they're all under the Gracie Bully Proof umbrella. And then for women, we have a program called Women Empowered, which is a trauma informed women's self defense jujitsu program. And our motto here is structure, safety, street readiness.
Okay, got it. What's the youngest kids?
We right now it's 5 years old. So we
Mhm.
have the 5 to 7 year olds. That's our little champs, and then we have the 8 to 12 year olds, which is our junior grapplers, and then anybody 13 and up falls into the adult program category.
What's your theory on the youngest age, 5? Is there like a definite specific reason 5? Sometimes I ask
Well,
that. It's
yeah,
kinda
that's a great
interesting.
question.
There's all kinds of answers, yeah.
Something happens to kids at 5. So our
I
kind of
think you're right,
goal,
yeah, yeah. I only have 1 that's
yeah.
reached 5, the other's 3, but I didn't remember that.
Yeah. So, um, when like kids turn 5, that's usually when, if they are enrolled in public school, that, they've been in preschool, they've been in, like a group setting, and the group environment is usually a little less foreign to them. And then also just developmentally, like around that 5 year mark, most of the time, they are hitting a point where they can kind of comprehend stuff. They're a little bit more aware of their body and, can understand directions a little bit more so that they can start learning like how to make their body uh, do jujitsu. We have toyed with the idea of a class called Matt Munchkins, which would be kids ages 2 to 4. And then even like some 5 year olds, because everybody develops differently, right? And then maybe even some of the 5 year olds that just weren't quite ready for the 5 to 7 year old format, having a place for them to land. And especially with kids, like we want to give everybody, not just in our kids program, but in all of them, really. We want to meet every student where they're at so that everybody who needs something from jujitsu can get it from jujitsu. So with the 5 to 7 year olds, it's not the same class. It's not taught with the same energy or the same angle as the 8 to 12 year olds, because I only have one child. He's 8, but he's been in both programs. And it's like when you teach him something and when you get him involved in something, it's often beneficial. Like you would talk to a 5 year old differently than you would talk to a 9 or 10 year old when you're trying to teach them how to do stuff. And if you're trying to hold their attention and let them have fun. So
Got
we
it.
really love that we can do that.
And, the instructors there, do you wanna highlight anybody there?
Well, my right hand man is Chase Almond. He is the certified instructor um, that helps me. So, since we're all kind of affiliated with Gracie University, uh, there's like an instructor certification program where the certified instructors, including myself, like we traveled out to Torrance, California at Gracie headquarters to train with Hedon and Henner to be certified instructors at their school. And Chase did that, after joining with me. I started it. He did that, and he's kind of my assistant instructor. And he's also like a great friend. And then he's also what I think is really cool. He is my preacher. So
Mm.
he was a wrestler in high school, and then we go to a small church. He heard I was opening a jujitsu school and he's like, yeah, I wrestled. I think I want to get into that. And then he come in, he got hooked, and he's a natural teacher, being a preacher, and he's a huge asset that we have here.
What about, do you have, like, an overall philosophy, like, personal philosophy on, like, teaching jujitsu? In a
Hmm.
way, like, you can sum that up in so
Like
maybe that makes it
concise.
a little unique or something?
Yes. Okay. Jujitsu overall, when I teach jujitsu, I think about energy efficiency and technique over strength. So let me explain that. Let's just say this is how jujitsu works. And this is what I tell everybody that comes in to the school. Like, this is what I tell the adults, like if you were to come into my school and you were to take your first Gracie Combatives class, the first part of the class, I would sit down in the corner with you while everybody else is kind of warming up and reviewing, you know, and I would tell you that fights normally go. Let's say that this is you, Cody, and you got attacked by somebody that is a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, a little bit more athletic, a little meaner, a little uglier, like whatever, you know, they have these advantages over you. How fights normally go, two untrained people just trying to hurt each other, is that everybody goes crazy, burning energy. And if you are the physically disadvantaged person, you get tired first and you lose. Okay. So what we focus on in jujitsu is we have to perfect techniques that allow us to chill while big guy burns. When he gets tired, we win. In self-defense, winning can encompass a lot of different things. If even with the experience that I have, if I got attacked by like a 6'9" NFL tight end, who was trying his best to kill me with his bare hands, a victory in my mind would be me not going to the hospital, not getting hurt. If I could use my jujitsu to stay safe, not get knocked out, not get choked out until somebody broke us up or the police arrived or get away to safety, that's victory. Victory can also be you control somebody until they give up and like they get tired and they want to find common ground with you and you go negotiate with them. And then if
Yeah.
necessary, it could be making them tap out, if it's like a sports situation or, a chokehold or an arm lock of some sort. So that's my philosophy, energy efficiency.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. Um, when you talked about meeting people where they are you doing that within, like, the individual classes as well?
Absolutely. So,
Okay.
I would say the the clearest distinction, other than what I've already mentioned, like with the um, kids programs, we structure the 5 to 7 year olds different than the 8 to 12 year olds. So 5 to 7 year olds, for the most part, they just want to have fun. They will learn a little, but they want to have a lot of fun. So we kind of play games with them that teach them almost in secret, like
Yeah.
um,
Sure.
fundamental movements and coordination that will prepare them for a lifetime of learning jujitsu. Then when they turn into like the 8 to 12 year olds, we take it up a next level, still fun, still playful, still kind of that energy carries over, but we're actually doing a little bit more moves with them, right?
Uh-uh.
And our motto with kids is expect nothing, praise everything. It's like if they are doing something that looks like what I asked them to do, like if they're doing something that looks like an armbar, I'm like, great job, man. You're
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
awesome. Because kids, they get kind of bogged down everywhere else. So, like my philosophy, when they come in here, it's pump them up, pump them up. And I want to keep them on the mat for as long as possible because you're not going to tell me that, like, if a kid starts when they're 8, that by the time they're 17 years old, if they've come to class once or twice a week, that they're not going to be good at jujitsu because I didn't
Yeah.
hammer them and say, whatever. So we tailor our instruction to that. With the Gracie Combatives program, it's a structured um, curriculum. So it repeats itself and you build these essential skills before moving on to the master cycle. So we prepare
Okay.
you for the advanced program. We prepare you to free spar and I teach every class like it's everybody's first time. So, although there are 23 classes in the curriculum, if you came into your first class with us and it was class 17, you're not going to feel like you needed 1 through 16 to
Yeah.
keep up with me. And that's the advantage of that. I can really kind of teach to the lowest common denominator, and then everybody kind of comes up. Um, and then with the women, even the techniques, like for instance, the Women Empowered program, our beginner women's self-defense program, all of the techniques were selected to prepare a woman for what studies have shown to be the most common self-defense scenarios that they face.
Uh-huh.
So, in that same kind of any class,
Right,
any
so it
order.
enters the viral, posts, the women's
Yeah,
self-defense
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and that energy's kind of it's kind of contagious, you know. So I'm on board with that as well. So, but yeah, you can see that on his website.
Hey, how many classes are there within the, and the other question, what was the name of the class called that's before the master class? For
Gracie Combatives.
okay, how many classes are it cycles, how many is it?
Okay, so the sh- let me. Are you asking like how many classes does it take normally to pass, or how many classes do we teach within like the program? How many classes do we cycle through?
How many classes you cycled through? Yeah, I
Okay.
guess each one is, going over different things.
Yes, there are
Yeah,
23 one-hour group classes,
okay,
36 techniques kind of, and in those 36, like there's
yeah,
different variations and stuff. But yeah, 36 essential techniques broken down into 23 one-hour group classes.
got it, got it, got it. And then the last question about that, and then we can get onto the story, but is the, Gracie combative stint, if you will, does it correlate with the belts or not?
Yes, so in a way, um you will start out with a white belt. And then within the Gracie Combatives program, we will award you stripes that correspond with how many classes you have taken in the Gracie Combatives program. And what that does, you talked about meeting somebody where they are in jiu-jitsu. What that does for me as a coach is I can, without looking at your card or, whatever, I can look at your belt and I can see how many stripes. And so I can
Mm,
see how ready you are for me to nitpick you a little bit. Because most people that start jujitsu, when they come in for their first class, they are subconsciously, in my opinion anyway, they're subconsciously trying to talk themselves out of this. Like, man, I really can't do this. Like,
yeah,
jujitsu's
sure.
cool. Like Joe Rogan talks about how awesome it is, but this is like, surely
Yeah.
I can't do it, you know? And so if they come in for their first class and, I'm trying to like bring them up to like the GC level, like the graduating level on their armbar, the first day that they come in, they're like, I knew it,
Mm,
like this isn't for me, and they don't really get the opportunity to see what time on the mat, what exposure to technique, what movement and all of that can do for their bodies and experience like the magic of jujitsu. Like, wow, I really can get somebody who's heavier than me off the top of me. So I build up their confidence because that's what people need first. They need confidence. You
yeah.
can do this. You just need to move your body. You need to come out here. You need to listen. You need to try. And then as they get like, every 10, or I'm sorry, every 20 classes, like we'll give them a stripe, right? And when they've had about 20, 30, 40 classes, then it's like, okay, they're here. Like they're kind of they should be on they should be coming jujitsu, right? And so then I can start saying, hey man, um, if you get your hips out further on that elevator sweep, you will have a lot more leverage, or you really need to trap the arm a little better, that way the bad guy can't post, you know or something like that, and I can give them a little bit more advice in that regard. But to get back to your question, the belt system, we award a Gracie Combatives belt, which is in a sense it's like not an official jujitsu recognized belt. Like no one else has a Gracie Combatives belt, but it is
Mm,
a white belt with a blue line through the middle, and it just signifies the completion of the Gracie Combatives program. after a person has developed proficiency, because we also have classes called reflex development classes, where we're going to expect you to put these moves in combination and recognize them as they would come to you in a fight, and apply them.
Yeah.
When someone has, feel like they own those techniques, then we will test them. In that regard, there's a formal test. It's no joke, and then we award them the combatives belt, and then they move on to the master cycle. They're technically still a white belt, but then they start working towards their blue belt. And then after that, it's blue, purple, brown, black, just like, anybody else you've had on your podcast.
Now, when they're in the master's class, is it kind of structured just as much as the Gracie Combatives classes are, as far as like there's a certain classes that you're graduating from something, or is it just kind of like now they're in the normal just progression through the belts, just like other academies that are not
Yes. So,
Gracie? Yeah.
is it structured? Absolutely. So it's called the Master Cycle. And we teach from about I can't remember the exact number, but I either want to say 400 or 600 techniques from Gracie University in the Master Cycle. And those techniques have been divided into positional chapters. And so we rotate through these positional chapters, and sub chapters, like mount, side mount, guard, half guard, back mount, leg lock, standing. And there's little sub chapters in there, like mount escapes, mount submissions, mount controls, mount submission counters. And so all of those are organized in that format. And the students are given a schedule of what we're going to be covering. Um, I would say the only difference is in some of the master cycle classes, you may be learning something that is a little bit more advanced than you are. Like if you come to a normal master cycle class, maybe we're talking about, something from half guard that's like a sweep. And maybe you just need to learn, maybe like, because the combatives program doesn't really hit heavy on half guard. Maybe you need to learn some more escape and survival strategies and punch protection from half guard before you start learning like more advanced sweeps and things like that. Um,
Sure.
you may be exposed to something that is a little bit more, beneficial for a more advanced person. But we do have a Master Cycles fundamentals class on Fridays where we focus strictly on a curriculum designed to bring you from the level of combatives belt. We're going to teach you the most important, not all of them, right? We can only
Yeah.
bring like half of it. The rest of the half is going to be up to you. But it's like the most important techniques to get you from combatives belt to blue belt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, and I'm sorry we're going on and on, but the only reason why I'm asking you is because you're explaining it beautifully. Really, I understand what you're saying. The
Yeah.
last thing I want to say is this, and then we'll be done with this. But thank you. Is that uh, are you graduating classes within the master program, the master class? Are you
Master
graduating
Cycle, yeah, I
something?
got you. I'm
Master
with you.
Psych, are you graduating something to be able to get to the next belt, or is that process of getting the next belt to the next belt to the next just like normal, like just depends on how they're progressing themselves? Is it?
Great question. So, in the Master Cycle, we do issue a attendance card similar. Hold on just a second.
Yeah,
So this is like a blue belt qualification card. Okay. I'm not gonna
okay,
leave it up there too long, but it's basically like we'll track your progress and how many classes you have attended. And that kind of lets us know and make sure that we are following like a fair
yeah,
rubric that to consider you for promotion. Everybody learns differently, so it's very merit based. But at the same time, it's not very fair, or well, in my opinion, like how we try to run it is it's the same expectation for everybody. And let's just say like it's 80 classes for you to earn a stripe on your blue belt. That's the minimum requirement. Most of the time, like if you are super present in class, you're training hard, and I'm doing my job as an instructor, within 80 to 100 classes, you should be ready for your next stripe. But I will assess, and I have like the
Yeah.
discretion, like because if you're somebody that, doesn't pay attention in class, is just kind of more lackadaisical, whatever, isn't prioritizing their health so that their body can actually do some of the techniques, not saying you have to like, be strong or whatever, but if you're just going crazy and eating Twinkies all day and you just can't, get to that next level because your body just doesn't, then it may be, like a talk like, hey, I would love to promote you to blue belt. Here are some things that I feel like you need to work on, But for the most part, everybody like right around that same time, it's like, this guy's more than ready.
Yeah. So
We
the
we
number of days attended is kind of a part of the assessment, and then also the tension level is a part of the assessment, and then we get to the actual, final
absolutely.
assessment.
It's
Okay.
like minimum qualifications,
Yeah.
instructor discretion at that point.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I think anybody who just heard that understands it
Come see
completely
me.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go back as far back as you want. Start us and tell us how you got into jujitsu, why you fell in love with it, and lead me up to, owning the place.
Yeah. Okay. So I got into jujitsu because the big reason what made me like get into it, I've always kind of been curious about martial arts. Um, but just never really did it. I'm a detective now. Uh I felt like, and this was like, 15 years ago, I went to the police academy, you know, 40 hours of training on how to arrest and control somebody. I knew that I wasn't as prepared as I'd like to be
Okay.
to control somebody and everything, especially without hurting them, right? And that's the
Okay.
thing with like law enforcement is like, you know,
Yeah.
if you can just like hurt them until they do what you want, that's a different thing. But that's not what society demands from law enforcement, nor should they, right? So we have to be skilled in controlling people without hurting them. And I didn't know it at the time, but that's exactly what jujitsu is, the gentle art, right? And so I had a friend. He's actually a coach here now. He's our striking coach. His name's Trevor Anderson, and I'd looked up to him. Growing up. Well, he's like a year older than me, but I always admired him because he was a professional MMA fighter and just been a lifelong martial artist. Um, and I knew that he did jujitsu, and he recommended jujitsu to me. And so I finally worked up the courage to go into a jujitsu school. Um, and it was just kinda eye-opening to me. It was, so apparent to me that there is a level of skill here. There is, like this is almost like magic. Like, these people have superpowers almost. Like, they're able to control me, trap me, submit me if they want to, and there's nothing I can do about it. Like, it
Oh,
is, completely against my will, and I was like, "I have to learn this." And so I started doing jujitsu. It was a very sport focused school, um, but that's okay. I learned how to move my body, and I became kind of. I talked about your body becoming jujitsu. It's like once I was kind of exposed to that and saw how much fun it was. At the time, I was about 40 pounds heavier than what I am right now, and began to become in touch with my body. I'm like, man, this is holding me back. And so that motivated me to start eating better. Well, then when I started eating better, I started feeling better on the mats. I'm like, this is great. Then all the exercise I was burning a ton of calories, and I started getting in better shape. And I'm like, well, heck, why not supplement jujitsu with some body weight exercises at home? So I got a sandbag and I started doing like the sandbag stuff. And this was all just kind of because jujitsu saturated my life. I lost a ton of weight. I got in great shape. And then I learned how to defend myself. And the biggest thing that sold me on jujitsu, I had been training for, I think, 8 months. Okay. So I'm still a white belt. Maybe I've got like one stripe on my belt. I don't have like a whole ton of jujitsu experience, but I had been doing this enough where the next fight I got into as a patrol officer, I contacted somebody outside of a library, and I'll spare the details, but he tried to run away from me. And in the past, what do people do when they're met with somebody like and they try to grapple? They grab the head. It's just kind of like
Yeah,
instinctive.
headlock.
You
Yeah,
you put somebody in a headlock. I
that's
had
what
done
Hulk
that
Hogan did.
before.
Yeah.
I had done that before, and I had gotten by a big dude, got carried into his house like a piggyback ride. So, but since I'd been training jujitsu, I knew rear clinch. He's facing away from me. Don't grab his head. He can pick you up. Grab his hips. So I got his hips. I got him in the rear clinch, and he was trying to elbow me. I positioned my head where those weren't, a big deal. Wouldn't say it was comfortable, but wasn't a big deal. And I was so calm because I actually had a plan. I actually
Okay.
knew what I was doing, and I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but if you're ever in a high stress situation and then you don't know what to do, it goes crazy. But once high stress, but I know what to do, okay, it comes down a little bit. So I'm like, man, I really think I need to put this guy down on the ground so I can control him. But we're kind of on pavement right now. I might hurt a little bit. So I'm going to push him over here to the grass. I pushed him over to the grass, did a rear simple takedown that I had learned. He goes down to the ground. He goes face down. I control him from back mount for just a little bit. And then I feel him. He's tense. He's fighting. And then he realizes all that energy's getting him nowhere, and he just relaxes. He's like, "Okay,
Okay.
man. All right, I'm done. I'm done." Put him in handcuffs. Didn't even have to get on the radio. Didn't even have to do
Mm.
anything. Like one-on-one, usually that's not a
So
thing. Like
was that the first time that had happened?
that was the first incident like that I had since training jujitsu.
Yeah,
So,
that's
like,
what I
I'd been
meant.
in a bunch. That was what would did it for me is I have, like, the compare and contrast. As a police officer, countless numbers of resisting suspects in, roughly about, 4 to 5 years of law enforcement prior to training jujitsu to the first one about 6 to 8 months after I started training jujitsu, and it's like night and day. So, I'm like, "This is
Mm.
amazing." Like, I'm 100% convinced that I am doing the right thing here,
Yeah.
that this has something to offer me, and that just kinda made me go forward. Um,
Did you start telling your fellow officers about that and, like, that
yes,
instance
absolutely.
and
And that's
how
kinda what led me to opening the school too. That's kind of a good segue is so, um, I started, kinda leading, defensive tactics training not long after that. At my police department. And although I realized that, I had obtained like a lot of really good skills, there were things that were kind of missing as far as what do I do? What do I tell a law enforcement officer to do? Because there's things that you would do in a sportive grappling situation that are highly effective, very fun, very awesome. But if the guy is fighting you, trying to punch you, you would never do that. Like you would never do spider guard. That's like there's a very gi reliant gripping guard against somebody that wants to punch your face. So um, I started looking into like a jujitsu based defensive tactics system, and I came across Gracie Survival Tactics, which is Gracie University's law enforcement defensive tactics program. And I put in a training request, went to that, went to a certified training center where it was actually held, learned like these jujitsu moves that I'd been kind of missing. Like guard is awesome if it's just to like sweep somebody or submit somebody. But then in that program, I learned how to use the guard, which is where I use my legs to defend myself or cross my feet around them. what to do when they start punching, how to use the guard to defend punches, and things like that, and handcuffing techniques that were based on like Henner and Hidon's techniques in jujitsu. And I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, this is unique. This is different than any other jujitsu I've ever done. So I thought,
How long was that
man,
program? Like
the
one
Gracie's,
seminar kind of thing, and then you were introduced, and then you learned more. Is that kind of what
yes,
happened?
yes.
Okay.
So it was like a 40-hour program. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Super beneficial for me because I was already training jujitsu and I was going to keep training. Right. And so,
Yeah.
but when I went to the certified training center and I saw like how they were doing jujitsu in like a safety based, like everyday person, like not wanting to get hurt and miss work, not worried about as much about sportive, worried about like self defense first, kind of
Yeah.
like Hoist Gracie type jujitsu. I was like, man, that's cool. I think I want to do it someday. But it wasn't until I thought I have to get my black belt first, and then I can think about opening a school.
Okay.
Um, but then not a couple years after that, I sustained my second catastrophic knee injury during training. Wasn't like a thing where, the person was, being malicious or anything. It's just kind of part of it, when you're kind of rolling that hard and all that. And I'm like, I need to get a little bit more structure into like what I'm doing and what I'm training for and, focus on technique rather than trying to roll with somebody who is, 10 years younger than me that's getting ready for an MMA fight. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, man, so I'm laid up there for like, I know that I'm going to be out of commission. I'm light duty. I'm off work for at least 4 weeks, light duty for months after that, can't roll. And so I start researching. I go back to the Gracie survival tactics and I find that there is a pathway through Gracie University where you could start a school. And it's the whole thing is kind of laid out. Like they teach you how to do it. Um, and so the first step in that was learning the Gracie Combatives curriculum. So I'm sitting on the couch. I've got my knee in one of those things that bend your knee and straighten it, bend it and straighten it. And I'm sitting on the couch with my phone and I'm watching the Gracie Combatives curriculum. And I'm watching it and I'm sitting there and I watch it over and over to the point where I could kind of verbalize like when they did the moves, like I could say, like for Kimura, hips out, sit up, reach over, grab the wrist, bridge, roll back. And so I got to where I knew I was getting mental reps in it. And then as soon as my knee got to where I could get full range of motion in it, one of my dear friends who's a student to this day named Sam Culp agreed to meet me in my garage. The only time he had available was 5 in the morning. It was in the middle of summer. I'm still off work. It's hot, even at 5 in my little garage. I bought like some Amazon mats and we started drilling the combatives techniques like over and over. He was like a white belt, but he didn't watch the videos like I did, but he was there 100% to be like a good bad guy for me, and learn what he could in the process. And so I coached him up to be my bad guy, and I drilled and I drilled and I drilled. And then the process was once you learn it, you send your videos off to Gracie University and they grade it. And in order to be an instructor, you have to have a very, very high for them to consider it. You have to be like a very high score, like only like 5 deductions on the whole test. And I sent that off and I passed. And then I went through, there's an online like instructor course. It's like a college course on how to be a jujitsu school owner for them. Tests after that, passed that. And then I got invited to Torrance, California to go to like a 4-day ICP or instructor certification seminar, where I was tested a little bit more and coached a little bit more. And then I was given the blessing to go open a school. And I came back to Jonesboro, and Gracie Jonesboro came on the map, and the rest is history.
Mhm. Did you take over an existing place, or did you start
I
from
started from
scratch?
scratch. I started from scratch. So, the existing school owner that I was training with, which I have lots of respect for, during that time when I was, laid up for work, and I saw it and I made the decision, this is what I'm going to do. I called him and I said, "Hey, lots of love, lots of respect for you, but I wanted to let you know now because I just want to be transparent, because this guy was my coach, he was my friend. It's like I'm going to start my own school through this route. Um, and it's going to take me, because that whole process took about a year and a half. It wasn't like, I sent that off. An online program was like 2 or 3 months. And then I had to wait for the next in-person seminar to actually go out and meet Henner and Hedron and get certified. And so I um, told him, I said, man, just to do that, just because I don't want you to get weird vibes. I don't want people, like, if they hear about this, to be, I'm going to stay away from the school because I have zero intention on trying to be like recruit any
Yeah.
students like away from you. And so I stepped away from the school, and then I started my own like location. And so it was just right there, opened the door, tried to pump it up on Facebook, held a grand opening, like event where I taught a little bit and like let everybody look around, and shook hands and all that, and was fortunate enough to start out with just enough students to pay all my bills. Like I was
That's
never in the red to start out, which was like, and I went really
okay.
conservative, I small place, but I didn't pay myself for like a long time, still working at the police department. And we've grown from there.
Have you had any feedback over this time about how people like the structure of the Gracie Academy, that kind of thing?
Yes. Um, for the most part, like when I say for the most part, 80-90% of people that come in here, they love it. They're like, man, this is how I learn. This is what I've been looking for. This is great. And they're 100% about it. There are people from time to time that come in and they're like, man, like this combatives program is about like punching and stuff, and that's cool, but I really want to compete in like a jujitsu tournament like next month. Like, can't you get me ready for that? And I'm like, dude, nothing wrong with that. More power to you, but that's not our focus. So if that's really something you're serious about, I wish you the best, but go see school XYZ. They do great at what they do. But we focus on this. And so that's kind of our niche. And I try to stick to that. And I don't try to you can't make everybody happy, right? I stick to the people that
Yeah.
I feel like love what we do, and I cater to them, and I let the other people go to schools that can cater to them more, and that's
Do you,
great.
do you have other law enforcement people there?
I do not as many as I would like to have, but I do have a few cops that train in here. Um, that's a battle that I have been fighting for a long time, is how can I get more cops training jujitsu? And, the thing about it is law enforcement is such a demanding job, that at the end of the day, like even if you made it free, it's like, okay, I want to come train jujitsu, but I work nights and on my day off, that's the only time I get to see my wife and my kid, and they're going to be ticked off if I come to class. Or dang, like, I just got off shift and I had to go to court on my days off, like, because we don't always have weekends. I had to go to court. I've worked every day
Mm.
this week. I really just don't want to go to class. um and so it's a struggle. Sometimes I get frustrated. It's like the biggest one is like, oh, I can't afford it, but then they're driving like
Tell
a
me,
$60,000 truck, But, the time constraint and everything, I feel that, and that's difficult, but
wh- if you're talking to somebody who is a a policeman, what would you say to them that, jujitsu could do for them, especially, the way that you teach it? What's kind
I
of like your
tell them,
summarized pitch for them?
yeah, is like I tell them that society is expecting law enforcement, like the bar for law enforcement's performance in a hands-on use of force just keeps going up. It just keeps going up.
Mm. Yeah.
Maybe in the 70s or 80s it was here, and people didn't bat an eye on certain things. But now it's like, no, we need to hold them here. And then another incident happens, and then like we need them to go here. And this all culminates to society expects law enforcement's to response, like their ability to neutralize a situation with a low level of force. They expect like Navy SEAL. It's like that's what they want. But the amount of training that the department gives you, like if this is Navy SEAL, and this isn't necessarily the department, law enforcement in general, the amount of training they give you is not even on the screen. It's like
Mhm.
you don't get enough. And I tell them like, this isn't me like trying to get you to, just feel sorry for every suspect that you deal with and all that. This is me telling you that if you don't want to do it for any other reason, do it for yourself, because you need to equip yourself. That's going to protect you from not only lawsuits or getting in trouble at work or whatever. It's also going to keep you safer. It's going to help you come home at night. It's going to keep you where you don't get injured, because if you just spaz out and, try to impose your will, 10 times more likely for the officer to get hurt, even if they win the fight, than if they didn't have jujitsu in their corner. So it's like that's what I always tell them. It's like you need to do it. Um, and most guys get it for the most part. Like all the cops recognize that. It's like, yeah, like I know I need to do it, but getting them in here is a conversation I could probably have with you that we don't even have time for. If you
Mhm.
wanted to hit me up some other time, like why I think,
Let's do it. Yeah, yeah. Let's
yeah,
let's just go off on the that angle one day. Yeah, and go really
yeah,
deep into it. I think it's very interesting. I'm gonna write it down right now. I'm gonna
okay,
check back in several months, and we're gonna see if we can do that.
yeah,
Um, yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for everything, for sharing everything. I think it's a really cool perspective. To
yeah.
wrap it up, what would you like to tell your community there that's at the academy?
Um, to the community, I would say that if you are curious about jujitsu, come see me. Come do like the first class is free. I'm gonna give you like an introduction, like one on one. You're gonna learn some moves. We're gonna tell you all about the program. It's gonna be risk free, and if you decide it's not for you, then it's not for you. But we have excellent programs for like kids and adults. It's like what I want people to know is that if you don't train how to fight, you need to make peace with you don't know how to fight. That's the bottom line. People think that they know how to defend themselves, with their bare hands, um, just kind of organically, they just like, well, you just, yes, but
Yeah.
my experience, I was like that. I was like that at one time. But my experience in this has just opened my eyes to how untrue that is. And if you want to teach your kid jujitsu, here's our motto with kids: learn to fight so you never have to, right? It's like the confidence that your kid will have to protect themselves when they learn jujitsu will enable them to set boundaries and mean it. And the bully finds
Yeah.
somebody else, like, "All right, fine. I don't wanna
And not
mess with
get
that
caught up
guy."
into a fight. Sweeps
Yes.
into a fight.
Exactly, exactly, and they don't have anything to prove. That's the thing with, like, me, it's helped with my I don't know, I don't have a temper, but that's what comes to mind is, like, if I get into an argument or somebody insults me or something like that, or kinda hints around like they're trying to get me to fight them, I don't care, man. Like, I don't have anything to prove to you. Like, I get all that out on the mat, It's
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
I train, and I also know how risky it is. I know I'm fully aware of how even like how something can go wrong, you know? Like even with all the skill that I have, there's 100 different variables that can result in me getting hurt or in trouble. And so it's like my ego is checked and, I'm just like, man, you're right. You know, that's probably
Yeah.
true about my mom, whatever, I'm I'm good,
Yeah, I
man.
guess
And
it
I
like
just go,
being closer to combat, whether it's because you're in law enforcement or just because you're training, you're able to like see, what could happen, right? More, and you're more wary,
yes.
careful. Yeah,
Yeah, and even on the mat, like people that I know that I have more skill and more experience, and that I normally, if we're, kind of having a competitive role, they don't give me too much problems. Every now and then they hit like a slick move, and it's like, dang, like they got me. So it can happen,
yeah,
even if you're like this really skilled person, you get distracted, you slip on something, and the next thing you know, the guy's got your neck, or,
mm,
he pulls a weapon, or whatever, Um, and pavement hurts. Like jujitsu works on pavement and gravel and everything like that. Like I've done it before, but you always wind up with bloody elbows and knees, and it's like I really don't want to bust my knees up just because you're drunk and being a jerk. I'll just move on.
yeah, yeah. Or getting back to what you did with the guy putting him on the grass that time, right? Yeah,
Yes, yeah. Maybe there's not any grass. If there's grass,
you're
maybe I'm
calm,
maybe I'm
you're able to
willing to
move him.
go a little bit more. But if there's like concrete, it might be your lucky day.
Well, thanks, man, so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed talking to you, man. I'd love for you to be on again. We could talk about the law enforcement stuff in more detail and yeah, get into it for as long as we want. Yeah.
Something I'm very passionate about, so
Yeah.
I'm down
I
100%.
think that would be great. Yeah. Okay, man. Well, I hope you have a great day. All right. Thank you so much,
You
Austin.
too. Thanks, Cody.
All right. Peace out, man. Thank you.